beautiful collectors and action figure fans? It's the one and only Optibotimus coming to you with another video review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys MMS 416 of the road-worn Thor from Thor Ragnarok. Every now and then, Hot Toys is able to get us a figure from a movie before the actual movie comes out. And a lot of it is based on the fact that there's a lot of reused parts. Sometimes they're just repainted pieces. For Thor here, it's a little bit of both. For the package though, you can see what we're kind of seeing with some of the trailers in that the colors are very vibrant and retro looking. A lot of flash, a lot of psychedelic to it, which I'm curious about because the previous Thor movies have not really had that brightness to it. And Ragnarok here definitely seems to have that, despite the fact that Ragnarok deals with the end of everything. But really nice package nonetheless. Now, as you can see, this is a Sideshow exclusive, which means here in North America, it's exclusively available only through Sideshow. And we'll get into all that here in a bit. You come around to the side though, you got Thor and everything. You come around to the back, big giant pink part with all the warnings and things of that nature. It is a bit of a shoebox style package that lifts up just like so. We can then bring the intersection into play, and you can see you have the cast and crew responsible for making the figure, and then when that comes down, boom, you got the open clamshell that fully showcases the figure as well as all of his accessories. Now again, like I said, we do have some stuff that has been reused specifically from the Age of Ultron version of Thor, but there's some really nice new additions to this as well. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have the road-worn Thor from Thor Ragnarok opened up and out of his packaging. And up first, much like all Hot Toy figures, you do get the instruction sheet. You got that nice Thor Ragnarok logo up there with the name, and then you open it up, very simplistic. It shows how to attach Surtur's skull, the chain, the magnet, all that stuff, how to have him wear his armor, which you can kind of create a couple different looks with him. You come around to the back, and it shows you the range of motion with his arm. Now, this figure here does utilize the seamless joint arm system that Thor has used several times already, I believe going back to the Dark World. So if you're familiar with any of those, you kind of know what's going on here. Now, starting off first with his accessories, coming down a lot of this figure is reused from, like I said, that Age of Ultron version. Starting off first, you do have the two relaxed pair of hands. You also do get a pair of fisted hands, very much like what we expect with a lot of these figures. You also do get a pair of hands that are more designed to hold Mjolnir. They're in this kind of clasping sort of position, which works nicely. And then you do get the two open hands like he's summoning Mjolnir. Very standard with most, both Hot Toy figures, I guess, as well as Thor. You also do get a pair of extra wrist pegs in case anything happens. And then the figure does have a lot of little buttons all over him, so you do get a couple, well, you can't see it, do get a couple extra of those. Now, much like the Age of Ultron version, you do get two versions of Mjolnir. One is a very nice heavy-duty die-cast version, which does have a really cool realistic look. I love all the sculpted detail if it'll focus on it. You got those very nice runes thrown out the entire thing on the sides around here. On the top you have that very gorgeous, and then again, like I said, very heavy. This part here is made out of die cast, and then the bottom section here is also made out of die cast. And you can see some really nice silver paint and good wrapping detail for the handle. You got what appears to be leather. It may not be leather. I'm not 100% certain, but you have that so you can spin that around and have them go fly if you want. Now, you also do get the light up one like what we got with the Age of Ultron version, and you can see that there is a slight difference in terms of the color. I mean, this has a little bit more of a worn look, probably just because it's made out of die cast, whereas this one is made out of plastic. I'm really torn on which one I like more. I think the heft of this, but I don't know. I kind of like the overall look of the silver on this. Same basic detail and everything, although you do get a little bit more, prominence of some of the black as it kind of gets washed off here with the silver, but you can see same size and everything, same, words throughout there. You got that same handle with the strap. Now, the difference with this is this one actually lights up, what you do, and you can kind of still see a little bit, the handle itself is the switch. So you rotate that and it actually lights it up, which does look really cool. And then obviously has a much different look than the die-cast one, and then you can see it gets much brighter there, as that's where the actual light's coming through. But again, you just rotate the handle and then it turns it off. Now you also do get this kind of lightning effect that as you can see, it is the same thing that we got with that Age of Ultron version. You just kind of slip this on there, kind of wedge that in, come on, there we go, and kind of position it right like so. And then again, you can kind of see the little effect there, but when you actually turn it on, it now kind of lights that up as well, which that's really cool. I do like that. I think that's one of the better kind of effects. Unfortunately, most people are not going to leave that on all the time, so it's a cool accessory. I like that they include it. It's not very practical and it's probably not going to get used very often, but it does give a really nice look. And then I love how when you look really closely, you can see like it's, or the light is emanating mystically from the inside. You got a really cool sort of texturing throughout there, which does look really nice. And it's interesting how this is a translucent piece, but when you look at it with the lights on, it doesn't look like you can see through it. I mean, it's still on right now, and you can kind of see that it does bleed through a little bit. But when you turn it off, I mean, that really is quite impressive. I've always liked how they did this. And to this day, I'm still torn on which I prefer to display them with. I always end up defaulting to the die-cast one just because it's more substantial, but this is still a really nice one as well. I think both of these turned out beautifully. Now, he also does come with, as you can see, a nice metal chain. It is made out of metal, and one thing, if you look really very, very closely to the trailer for Ragnarok, when he's dumped down into Surtur's lair, the chain that's wrapped around him looks very much like these links. So it's almost like that chain comes through, and then eventually he uses this to his advantage somehow. So you do get that. You also do get a couple additional little pieces on there that attach his cape and everything. It's just for extra in case anything happens to him. But what you would do is, while taking a look at Surtur's skull, I mean, this is absolutely gorgeous as well. This is probably the best accessory on this entire thing. Great detail, nice sculpting through the entire thing. Nice kind of dirty paint on the inside as well. You got like little teeth down here. You got his eye sockets. You come around to the back and you can remove this piece from it, and you can just have basically the back of a skull, which you can see again on the back inside here. Great detail throughout the entire thing. Now, Surtur is a very prominent character in the Thor universe. I guess you could kind of say he's one of the more ancient gods, even more ancient than Thor, and has exceptional power, even some would say more than Odin himself. So this is a very formidable enemy. So I'm really curious to see how they're gonna include all of this with Ragnarok. But you got this little piece right here that is a magnet section that you just put right back in there, kind of wedges. So if you just want to have him maybe holding it or displaying it, you can have that without some weird rectangular thing there. So this is a heavy duty accessory, and then you're going to basically put it in through there, and it's going to go there, and I'll wrap this all up so that you can get the full look. But you come around here to the back, and literally it just magnetizes. You got another magnet section right here that just grabs it, and then you're just going to take these and kind of wrap these around. And again, I'll get this all fancied up, but you can then do it like that and have the chain going around where it looks like he's got Surtur's skull being on his back, which is a really cool look. Now, to attach these, what they give you are these little tiny plastic links that look very much like the metal ones that are on here, but these are plastic and there's a small separation there. So what you do is you just kind of wedge that in there and it locks it in there, and that's how you bring the two parts together. So you're going to have this, and again, I'll do all that here in a bit, but you bring that there, you bring that there, you kind of will link it right here using either one of these. You do get two, like I said. One is in case something happens to it, so you get this little teeny tiny one that you're gonna lock these together. So really very cool. I love that little bit. So we're gonna set that there. He also does come with his display stand. Really very simple. Get him to stand there. You got Thor Ragnarok. You got the little chains right there. It says Road Worn Thor. You got the adjustable cradle. I like that this is a little bit smaller of a display stand. It works for me. It doesn't take up nearly as much space, but it still gives a really nice display option for it. Now, for the body and everything, for the most part, everything is the exact same that we got with that Age of Ultron version. The only thing that's really different is his outfit. The head sculpt is the exact same. They changed it a little bit in terms of the paint and everything, but really the sculpt is pretty much identical. You also do get his cape right here, which this is also a really nice addition to the outfit, and you can see it's very heavy. I mean, so it drapes very nicely. It's a little bit stretchy. I don't know what it's made out of, but you can see a little bit of stretch to it. He does have a hoodie. I don't know why you would have a hoodie, and then you got these little pieces. Oh, that's actually backwards. It goes like that. So you got these little button sections that come over and will lock into his little shoulder bits. You also do have this that, like I said, if you really wanted to, if you didn't want to have the cape on, you can take this section, you can just remove that. I'm just gonna pop his head off. You got these little bits right here. You can see the holes that you can push that in, and then you get a second one that you can take and push through there as well. Find the actual hole. I don't want to push through something I'm not supposed to be, but you have that. Now those kind of replicate those little round bits that he's had on other suits. So if you wanted to have him without his cape on, you can still kind of complete that look, and this is kind of how he looked in some of it. Other times he did have that cape on there. So what you would do for that, I'm going to pull these pieces off like so. Pull this one out as well. Give it a little rotation to help pull it out. Come over here. Let's see, we got that, we got that. So just put that through this little bit right here. Put the cape over him, and you can see you get a little bit different of a kind of clasp section right here where these are round. This is just a little rectangular one, which it's weird. I kind of would have preferred the round one. It just looks a little bit more interesting and more classic, I think, for what we've been seeing with Thor. So put that in there. You can kind of adjust his little hoodie right there, get his arms out of the way, bring his head in, plop that down, and there you have the more completed look for Thor, obviously minus having Surtur's skull on the back. But his cape is interesting. It's different than any cape that we've seen before Thor wearing. Number one, because he's got the hoodie. Number two, it's shorter, and it's not as regal looking, honestly. You can see it's very dirty. The bottom section here has a lot of wear and kind of tears throughout the bottom section. It is two-layered. You can see it's very thick, but that's what adds to some of the weight. So it's kind of sewn along the edges, but through the bottom, you can see it's a big, giant opening thing. So you do have that, but I like how that works to give him a sense of heft, which is terrific. Now, I want to do the comparison right away just so you can see it, but setting him there, getting this stuff kind of out of the way. But you can totally see that the head sculpts are identical. The only thing that really does change a little bit is some of the paint. You can see that the Age of Ultron one is a little bit lighter of a color, whereas the new Ragnarok one has a little bit darker, but you can still see that it has that really nice blondish kind of look. And then you come around here to the back and you can see that his long, luscious locks are still nicely sculpted. You come around to the sides here, well, the opposite side. I should have this guy around like this, but you can see that he's got the little tiny strands of hair, although this feels like it's stuck under him a little bit. There we go. That's kind of tucked underneath, so pull that out so you can see he still has those little strands of hair that come down here. I think I had him actually tucked underneath the neck joint, so that's Probably gonna have to fix that because yeah, that's, you can see that got a little bit bent right there. So I was putting that in there poorly, I should say. But the sculpt is the exact same. I'm trying to see if the eyes are positioned differently at all. No, they're both looking straight ahead. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll kind of have them looking in a different direction, and you can see that this hair now kind of sticks out. But they both are looking the exact same. You just have a subtle difference in the paint variation. This one's also looking a little bit taller because I am using the stand, because this guy's ankles were really very weak. At least this one's, the ankles were a lot more sturdy. But I have him standing on his base just to kind of balance them. But coming back, you can see that also what is different is the outfit in it, whereas the one on the left obviously is a little bit more of that classic sort of Thor look with the little round sections. This one is different. You got this nice strap that goes around here. I mean, you can see that the armor is still very nicely done, and I really even like the belt that he has right there. But you come down and you can see that it just has a little bit more of an armored but kind of traveling look, which makes sense because this is the road-worn version. So whereas this is more heavy-duty armor, this is a little bit more, I don't want to say functional, but more real-life kind of moving around. You can see that the little straps here on his, or I should say the arm gauntlets, you know, these are basically just straps, whereas these are actual armor bits. And then you continue on down and you can see that his crotch area has this nice kind of armor section that does come down. This has just a little leather thing, and then the pants themselves also do get dramatically different. You can see that the legs and the shins are protected by some nice heavy-duty armor bits, and then these have those little straps that are very much like the shoulders. And then again, you can see I'm not sure how I feel about the cape, honestly. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not sure how I feel about the cape, to be totally honest. I do like the overall difference that the new one has, but I do kind of like the long regal look that the Age of Ultron one has. That's a cool look for it. I mean, it's flowing, it looks nice. Again, this is very, I'm traveling from village to village, I'm kind of hiding, it seems. Kind of plays along with a little hood where he can put that over and cover his face. I mean, it looks good, and obviously from what we have kind of seen is fairly accurate to the actual look for him. But I really do think that both kind of have a unique look to them, whereas again, this guy is traveling, you know, maybe on the hideout in kind of avoiding people or something. This one obviously is done up to kind of battle bad guys, but either way, still both really nice figures. I did want to kind of zoom in on this guy just to give you a good close look, but really nice likeness. So while I said it is reused from the previous one, I don't think it's a bad thing, because I thought that previous one did a really nice job of capturing that Chris Hemsworth look. I think the hair is really sculpted nicely. You come around, you can see that it's kind of sculpted in like this little ponytail-ish sort of thing. Again, great look with the cape. I do really like that. And again, the armor looks really nice. It does have a very similar sort of look. You come around to the back and you can see it does have all that nice armor, you know, buckling, and then the straps look really nice. It's just, it is very plain. I do like these little additional buckle things. These are a little bit different than what we got before. That's pretty different. I'm curious if that has any kind of actual, you know, Asgardian meaning or anything like that. But this is a softer material. It does restrict some of the articulation, which I'll go through. Not a lot, because as you can see, this section here and this section are actually separate pieces. So you do get a pretty decent range of motion with that. You just kind of have to move that around. But nice belt. I love these little bits that are around here. I mean, you got these little pieces that come down, and these are a little bit harder. But this section here, it feels almost like it's suede. It's kind of got a softness to it. Same thing on like the side of his pants. This is almost like a vinyl right here in the front, and then you get a very soft suede feel on here. Really nice texture and detail. You have some knee pads right there, and then when you look at the shin guards, again, very generic, but what I also like that they did was it makes it kind of look like the shin pads actually go down into the boot. I mean, obviously that's just a separate foot. But when you shift that down, it kind of looks good and seamlessly fits in there. Now, when you do move it, it does kind of break up that illusion a little, but I like how they have that in there to allow for articulation. A lot of the other boots kind of had that as well, but I just think that this is integrated a little bit better and looks nice. But overall, great detail. And then again, we have seen these arms before. They are that kind of rubbery material. It is still a little bit weird in the fact that you bend it and then you don't get a bulge as you would in the bicep. So it's anatomically correct when it's just standing there, but when you bend it, like I said in other videos, I just don't feel it creates that same look. Now, even if that seamless arm wasn't there, it wouldn't bulge out like a real arm does. So it looks good, but I think it only really looks good in slight poses. If you're going to be bending, then when you can see that his elbow, like, it's really thin there. I don't know. It is a interesting kind of thing. I know a lot of people are really, you know, both on the fence about how it looks and whether or not they like it or dislike it. I'm kind of indifferent. I don't really mind either way, but I think that both have their plus and minuses. But for his articulation, very much like that Age of Ultron one, you do have a neck joint that moves it around. It does pop off, and yeah, that's what I was doing. The hair was getting underneath there, so I'm going to have to heat that up and get that in a good location. The neck here, I want to say that the neck actually does flex down, so you can get them looking nice and far down, so you get a real good range of motion with the head. The hair, because it is sculpted, always does kind of sit up like this unless you do heat it up and then kind of put it down so that it drapes a little bit better. You can do that. The shoulders here rotate 360 degrees. They are separate from the actual body, so you can rotate that around, but as you do, be careful because you got a little section right up there. You don't want to cut the skin or anything. And then it does hinge in and out. You can see he's got a hole in his armpit. So you do have that. It does have a bit of a butterfly joint. He can rotate a little. I think it says, I don't remember the exact number, like 30-degree range of motion or something, but you can see kind of that this one seems to rotate out more than this one does. No, I guess that's about the same, and then it rotates in. So you do get a little range of motion with it. It does specifically talk about not leaving the arms in a bent pose because it can damage the material right there. As you can see, the elbows do bend at about 90 degrees, but when you push it about there, the other one, you could see it did have a tendency to pop back, but it's actually staying there pretty decently right now. But again, you don't want to put any stress on any of those joints. So for me, I am a very museum pose kind of guy, so it doesn't bother me really that much. The wrists rotate, and then they have the little hinge forward and back. As I said, the body on the underside here is probably the exact same, but it does get a little bit restricted, mostly down here. As you could see before, it does rotate. Doesn't really, it sort of crunches, not a heck of a lot. I keep popping his head off. It doesn't really do too much, but you do get a little bit of a rotation there, which is nice. The legs here move forward pretty decently. They move back about as far as they're going to. They only go about that far, which is decent. It does get a little bit tight in his crotch area, so you do have to be careful with that. Rotates at the upper part of the thigh. He does have two joints here at the knee, and then when you come down to the ankle, these are actually on a couple different ball joints. You got a ball joint at the upper section, and then an actual ball joint down here, but you don't really use too much of it. It's mostly this one here at the top. So all the articulation that you could really think of is there. Much like the original figure, you just get a slightly more updated look to him because of his outfit change. Now, obviously, we are going to get like the Gladiator Thor, maybe even a slightly different version from that. I could see at least one other version of Thor being released after the Gladiator one, so we'll see what the best version is, but I do like this one. I think that if you're going to replace the Age of Ultron one, this is a good one to go with, mostly in the fact that I still like the fact that he's got long hair. I don't know how I feel about him having short hair yet. But for the figure, that's pretty much it. So let's get him all situated so he looks cool, and I guess dragging this big thing all around. Now again, so for this, you got the magnet on the back. You're just going to fit that on there, and then take this and bring this over one side, and then you got this section that you bring around just like that. So spinning that around, trying not to drop them. It's a little bit tricky to do all of this while he's just kind of sitting right here. So you want to bring all this stuff around and kind of bring that shoulder piece, and then take, like I said, one of these little clip pieces here, and you can, I guess it doesn't really matter where you put it on here. I guess you can use this. So we're going to clip it on to the end of this side. Again, it's personal preference really how you do it. I'm just trying to keep them from falling. So pull this and then kind of pull this around, put that like that, and then you can kind of futz with it again to get the chain looking pretty good. You kind of have it dangle right there. Bring that around, bring that, and you can see it looks as if he's carrying that over his shoulder, or on his back, I should specifically say. But really cool. I really am happy, obviously, with that kind of accessory. It does give a unique look to it, and like I said, I am really curious to see exactly what role Surtur will play in it. Mostly, and like I said, he's a very powerful, part of the Thor universe. In the grand scheme of things, the older you are, the more powerful you are. So he is older than Odin, because remember, Odin had a father himself, whereas Surtur really doesn't. He's just kind of there. So he's almost, I don't want to say he's like Laffy, but he is the ruler of his own realm and very powerful in of himself. So really a very fun accessory to have. And even though they're using the same portrait, I think it's okay. That likeness previously was basically spot on. So I have zero problems with them reusing it. The body is the same. The accessory count is basically the same that we got before. I mean, we got the little light up one, we got the metal one, we got the hands, we get the lightning effect. So, fairly relevant accessory still. And then you get some that are obviously more specific to this version, such as, Surtur's skull. Now, as I did say, this is a Sideshow exclusive, which means it's only available here in North America through Sideshow Collectibles. I believe this was a 2017 Toy Fair exclusive overseas, and that's why it's an exclusive here in North America. And I think that's perfectly fine. This may not necessarily be the ultimate version of Thor that collectors are going to want, but I still think it's a very good one, especially if this whole scene with Surtur plays out to be pretty epic. And for me, someone who has Thor, Loki, Odin, I actually like having this as a display to kind of round out almost that vault sort of thing that Odin has. So while this looks really good as a wearable accessory, I'm more than likely just going to have it there in the background, next to things like the various Infinity Stones and such. So all that being said, if the Road-Worn Thor is a figure that you'd like to add to your collection, he is available right now at Sideshow Collectibles. So all you have to do for that is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to Sideshow where you can check out availability on this guy, as well as the rest of the wide range of Hot Toys 1/6 scale figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus. Don't forget that if you like this video, to please hit that thumbs up button. It goes a long way towards helping me out, and I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe in case you haven't already subscribed. It's free, and you'll get instant email notifications whenever I upload a new video, and you'll never miss out on a future review of mine. Or hey, if you're already subscribed, now more than ever it's important to make sure that you're getting those email notifications. We all know just how unreliable that YouTube subscription box is, and the best way to make sure that you don't miss a future review of mine is to click on that little bell right below this video, and double check your settings to make sure that they're set so that you get those email notifications. And as always, until next time, be excellent to each other.